Today, I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Let's take the ride. Every twist and turn, a place to hide.
Today, I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky, a small city you may have never heard of before, but it's more interesting than you think. And when it comes to budget travel, smaller cities are a fantastic option. Let's go explore some caves. Hello, y'all. I'm Miss World, also known as Casey, and my goal is to show you how to travel around the world in style and on a budget. And the budget part is pretty important. In fact, budget pretty much dictates everything I do, and I'm sure it's the same for most of you. So a smaller city like Bowling Green is an amazing option if you want to take a trip, but you don't want to spend all of your money on taking a trip. So I went to Bowling Green and hit all their biggest attractions to give you all the info you need to know about them. And today we're in the Lost River Cave. This is a very big attraction in Bowling Green, and FYI, cave attractions are kind of a whole thing in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky is the home of the largest cave system in the entire world. It's known as Mammoth Cave, and it's about an hour away from Bowling Green, but the entire state sits on top of caves. It's because there's a great deal of limestone here, and limestone is full of air pockets. Sometimes those air pockets become really large and form full-on caves or even entire systems of caves. Millions of years later, lots of people now go down into the caves to explore this marvel of nature. It's all pretty cool. And on a hot day or a rainy day, escaping into the caves is a clever way to enjoy the natural world without being affected by the weather of the natural world. But tickets to the actual Lost River Cave attraction cost $24 a head. And if you watch my recent video about the best things to do in Bowling Green, you know I have some thoughts. The Lost River Cave itself is the longest underground river attraction in the world, which is not a bad claim to fame, but that description itself makes the river sound really long. It's really not. It's actually quite a short little river, but the ride does take a good 20 minutes or more because the boats move with agonizing slowness. The guides also stop the boats at several key points to show off various cave formations, which is very interesting, but it's also a smart trick to make this ride through the cave seem a little longer than it is. Also, you're on a boat with a bunch of strangers. The boats are large and there's no option to ride in a smaller group. Everyone is just packed in because this is an attraction and people are trying to make money, and that makes sense. The point is, there may be lots of moments where you don't really want the ride to last longer. I was on a boat with some very loud and very young children, and that's not really my scene.
So if you're under, feel free to run your hands along it and not your head.
Yeah.
So that was Yummy back there. After the Perkins where they go to the nightclub, they had their own walking for it, and that's how they walk people up there. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on.
That's the monkey.
But exactly, very creative name. There's that water there. You see it dropping down onto the flow stone. It's doing two things when it gets onto the rock. It is both eroding and depositing. So as it hits the top, it is eroding away that limestone rock, but it's also picking up that calcite in limestone. Very creative name. You might see all these rocks dropping away that have been broken down and fallen. Over time, rocks will eventually fall down here in our cave, and we are a drainage basin. Our mile area will eventually find its way out here into the cave. And because of that, we're very prone to flooding. Sometimes those water levels will reach the ceiling in here. Back in April, we had something like that happen, one of our worst floods to date. The water levels did reach the ceiling. And when that happens, it's kind of like a toilet bowl, where it forms a whirlpool, and it tries to flush itself out. So right up here.
The history of the cave is pretty cool, and you go on a little mini nature hike to access the cave, where the guide stops and shares some of the most fascinating historic tidbits. This whole area is absolutely beautiful. The cave is surrounded by an entire park that has more than 2 miles of trails. There's a beautiful lake outside, and you get a chance to learn more about the rock formations and the nature here, which any outdoorsy person will like. I'm not that, as regular viewers will know. Also, and I hate to be a stickler about this, it's not a river, y'all. Here's why I can definitively say that. Halfway through the ride in the cave, the boat will stop and turn around because there's a huge cave wall, and the water also ends. So you turn around and head back out. I'm sorry, but is that not a lake? A waterway with a definite endpoint that's inside a cave and not on the ocean is like a lake, right? Someone weigh in on this because I'm confused. So as far as taking the river cruise inside the cave goes, yes, it's pretty cool. It's decently short and kind of interesting, but it's not worth $24 a person. It's just not. Unless you're really into caves, or you have some goal to hit certain types of attractions, or you're just super interested anyway, you can absolutely skip the price of a ticket and simply walk around in this area for free. There's plenty of pretty rock formations to see, especially near the mouth of the cave. This is where the cave's history and the present day collide in some kind of cool ways. When I was at the cave, it was all dressed up in preparation for a wedding reception. And as I was leaving, some of the guests were already showing up. And this is still Kentucky, so more than a few of them were somehow already drunk at like 3 in the afternoon, which that's not a judgment. I'm frankly impressed. But honestly, we're all raised on chocolates made with bourbon and bourbon soaked bacon, and we basically put bourbon in just about everything and then go party around caves. So you could pretty much find some drunk people heading toward a cave any day of the week here. Get back to this cave. It has a history that's worthy of the state where bourbon was invented. Around 10,000 years ago, people were using the cave as a place to live. Many thousands of years later, during the American Civil War in the 1800s, the cave became a shelter again when both Confederate and Union soldiers used it as a campsite. Kentucky was the only state in the Civil War to be represented as a star on both flags because both sides were claiming Kentucky. The government of Kentucky declared neutrality in the war and refused to take a side, so things got a little dicey. At separate times, the state was occupied by forces from both sides. And at separate times, so was this little cave tucked into the trees of Bowling Green. You never know where you'll find some interesting history. According to local folklore, the cave was used again decades later by one of the most notorious bank robbers in all history, Jesse James. There is no evidence of this, and honestly, it sounds like one of those stories that's probably not true. But the cave was absolutely used as a secret speakeasy during the days of Prohibition in the 1920s. And this is the same space that you can rent out if you want to have an event here. It's a cool attraction, and it's a gorgeous park if you like nature and you want to do a little hiking around. But please watch your step. The terrain is very hilly and very rocky, and for what it's worth, there are actually much nicer places to hike around Kentucky and around Bowling Green. So you can skip this area entirely. For $24 a person, I definitely would, and I won't be going to this attraction again unless it's somehow revamped. Bowling Green is full of some other attractions that I think are better and more affordable. So check out my earlier video about stuff to do in Bowling Green, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel now because we're not done here yet. There's lots more to explore and plenty to eat, so please come back again for my next video. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and thank you for taking this journey with me. Now, Voyager, sail forth to seek and find.